And now, as we return to the heart of our inaugural session, we are honored and privileged to invite our special guest, the eminent poet, academic, Professor Dr. Sanjukta Dasgupta, to share her reflections on the multifaceted genius of Rabindranath Tagore. Ma'am.
Hello, everyone. Fantastic performances. I don't know how uh, I can even contribute any further into what has been said. Uh, but I was hoping that they wouldn't say what I'm thinking about. ভাগ্যিস বলে ফেলেনি ওগুলো। So I am very grateful to Muktadhara. This is the second time I'm here, and it's a great feeling, really, that we are being able to observe not just Tagore's 146th or 7th birthday, but I think much more than that, because as Ashok started by saying that we are in troubled times, গত কয়েকদিনের মধ্যে আমার মনে হয় যেদিন রবীন্দ্রনাথের জন্মদিন ছিল সেদিনই আমার বারবার একটি গানের কথা মনে হয়েছে, এবং সেটা আমাদের গ্রুপের সাথেও আমি ওটা শেয়ার করেছিলাম। হিংসায় উন্মত্ত পৃথ্বী, নিত্য নিঠুর দ্বন্দ্ব, ঘোর কুটিল পন্থ তার লোভ জটিল বন্ধ। আমি পুরো কবিতাটা বলবো না, এক্ষুনি ওরা লাফিয়ে আসবে। In English, that Tagore had translated this poem. The world today is wild with the delirium of hatred. The conflicts are cruel and unceasing in anguish. Crooked are its paths, tangled its bonds of greed. All creatures are crying for a new birth of thine, O thou of boundless life. Now, this was written in 1933. In 1899, when a poem that is used as an appendix for nationalism is a poem that you will find at the end of nationalism, but he wrote it at the end of 1999, and it's titled The Sunset of the Century. First written in Bangla in 1899 on the 31st of December. And just notice the words that he had used. Rather unusual of Tagore. Yes, very, very, the verbal violence in these lines shows the angst of the poet. The last sun of the century sets amidst the blooded clouds of the west and the whirlwind of hatred. The naked passion of self-love of nations, in its drunken delirium of greed, it's dancing to the clash of steel and the howling verses of vengeance. The hungry self of the nation shall burst in a violence of fury from its own shameless feeling, for it has made the world its food, and licking it, crunching it and swallowing it in big morsels, it swells and swells, till in the midst of the unholy feast descends the sudden shaft of heaven, piercing its heart of grossness. That was Tagore again. Now, Chinmay referred to the crisis in civilization, and this was written in 1941 in the month of June, only a few days before he left the world forever. And there too, he repeats the sort of troubled mind that Tagore seemed to be sharing in his writing is really fabulous, I think, in terms of his anticipation that whenever we are thinking we are advancing as a civilization, whenever we are thinking that, well, globalization is all about transnationalism and transculturalism, go to the airport, say that I believe in transnationalism, and don't bring the visa. Yes? And you will know what will happen. So, what we say here and what we experience in real life, there is such a divide. And also, this is the era of post-truth. This is the era of post-ethics. And Tagore seemed to have anticipated all of it. And so, in Crisis in Civilization, he writes, as I look around, I see the crumbling ruins of a proud civilization strewn like a vast heap of futility. And yet, he does not lose hope. And yet I shall not commit the grievous sin of losing faith in man. I'm not very happy with that. Mankind, the most unkind statements ever. Humankind, ekটু ভালো হতো বোধহয়. So there I will have a little quarrel with him. But in this same Crisis in Civilization, there is one paragraph which, jumps out of the entire tirade against the warmongering West. And there he suddenly talks about, I'll just read that passage, there came a time when perforce I had to snatch myself away from the mere appreciation of literature. As I emerged into the stark light of bare facts, the sight of the dire poverty of the Indian masses rent my heart. Rudely shaken out of my dreams, I began to realize that perhaps in no other modern state was there such hopeless dearth of the most elementary needs of existence. He, of course, is talking about British neglect and oppression and exploitation of the poor, of the poor masses. But then we have internalized imperialism, and we are noticing the same thing even now. 70% of our population, and we who form the 30% of the population are again binary. Yes? And that too, Tagore could anticipate. And I will just draw your attention to 3 plays that he wrote around this time. These 3 plays were Muktadhara, from which, of course, we have the even the event named after that. Rokto Korobi, which is celebrating its 100th year this year. And Chandalika, which was published in 1933. Now, this clearly indicates how Tagore critiques elitist historiography and represents subaltern perspective in terms of caste, class, gender, and the underpinning of poverty and deprivation of education by the regulatory bodies of the state and its repressive measures enforced on the grounds of religion, tradition, and conservative belief systems. এটা বেশ ভালো করে লিখে নিয়েছিলাম, অতটুকু পড়ছি না. There is one little essay which you have to really read if you want to, and strangely it was also published in 1925. It was called Religion of the Sudras, Shudra Dharma. And in Shudra Dharma, in one section he writes, the Sudras have sacrificed a lot but were never appreciated. Yet whether he received anything or not, for the sake of dharma, to accept humiliation was for him an ego booster. See the irony there. And then he makes an explosive comment in that long essay. Whatever it is, in India, Bharat, the only people who have survived in the pure and uncontaminated religiosity are the Sudras. They have not expressed any dissatisfaction with their Sudra identity, wherein religious discipline has forced them to labor as servants, Where else in the world could you find such dedicated servants? Despite being kicked and hit with brooms, they carry on as they believe they are performing their roles as ordained by Dharma. In no age had they ever demanded respect, nor did they receive any respect. They just performed their Shudra Dharma with complete purity and felt complacent about it. So, I know time is, he's looking so chintito. You can't imagine. So, and আবার দেখেছি তো আমার পাতাগুলো বেশ অনেকগুলো ভরা ভরা. But I will just refer to two little dialogues in this play, Rakta Korobi, which again tells us that what we talk in terms of Dalit studies nowadays was very much a part of Rabindranath's awareness even before the Gandhi had started his Harijan newspaper, and Gandhi had also drawn his attention, which led to his writing a number of poems about the Harijans. But here, even in Chandalika, which was fantastic, as you know, but I don't have the time to go into all that. But if you think in terms of neo-imperialism, the way in which we are noticing neo-imperialism, the king in Rakta Korobi says, I keep myself apart that it may become easy for me to plunder the world's big treasure houses. And then Nandini asks, as Nandini would, yes, Nandini asks, but can blocks of gold ever answer to the swinging rhythm of your arms in the same way as fields of corn? Are you not afraid, King, of handling the dead wealth of the earth? This exploitation of the earth, what we are talking about in terms of climate change nowadays, in terms of the disaster that is happening all over the world in the exploitation of the earth for two purposes, power and profit. Yes? And so finally, I would just go on once again to the sort of language Rabindranath can use. Yes? Very strong language in Rakta Korobi. Yes? No less strong than, you could say, Mitun Chakraborty, yes, threatening people. So here he says, these demons know the magic art of sucking away not only strength but hope. But if only I could fasten my teeth for once in the governor's throat. Rabindranath, ভাবা যায় না আমাদের ছোট নদী আর এখানে তো একেবারে সাংঘাতিক. So the language of the play cannot go unnoticed, and I'm sure you will read it. And there is the English version also, Red Oleanders. ওরা জানতো এরকম হবে রবীন্দ্রনাথ. Yes, there are 5 volumes of the English writings of Tagore, because he says ওই 26টা না পড়লে ওই 5টা হয়তো পড়ে ফেলবে. 21st century তো English is more the language we are more comfortable in. Yes, and so finally, this is what, again, Nandini says, the gods have all eternity for their worship. Mark you, Rabindranath, once again, yes, does not declare that he is a non-believer or anything. The gods have all eternity for their worship. They are not pressed for time, but the sorrows of men cannot wait. Yes, the sorrows of men cannot wait, which is why all the politics regarding all the houses of worship is something that, is it a way of not addressing what are the real issues? That is also what Tagore had referred to, talked about. And then the revolutionary part of Rakta Korobi is when the king abandons it all. It reminds you of Hirok Rajar Deshe also. So, not a plagiarism now, like about intertextuality. Yes? So, so you see that Nandini asks him the reason for his interest in joining her. Raja এখন বেরিয়ে এসছেন. He's holding Nandini's hand and make me your comrade today, says he. This is from the English version. See the use of the word comrade. Yes, 1919, Tagore was very, very aroused by what was happening in Russia. So the king implores Nandini, make me your comrade today. As Nandini asks him the reason for his interest in joining her, the king says, to fight against me, but with your hand in mine. See the duality of it. The fight has already begun. Here is my flag. First, let me break it. I will let you go. Thank you so much.